two-part series to this video. So today I'm reviewing the new Jaclyn Hill and Morphe Vault. They released 4 palettes in the Vault. They were going to release this Vault earlier in the summer, but there was some inconsistencies with some of the palettes. A lot of beauty influencers were receiving these in PR and they were having a lot of issues with the palettes. So Morphe and Jaclyn Hill decided to stop the launch and they went ahead and waited to reformulate the palettes and make sure that they were right. So now they finally released them. I picked this up. It took me almost 2 weeks to get it in the mail, which totally stinks, but that it is what it is. I ordered it straight from Morphe the second that it launched on Morphe.com because I wanted to save that extra money ordering all of them together versus buying each palette separately at Ulta. So that is the reason why my video is a little bit later than others, because it took me that long to get it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 palettes in this video and then 2 palettes in tomorrow's video. I'm going to split it up. I'm going to have timestamps so that if you guys don't want to see the tutorial, on one palette or another, you will be able to know where to go through a timestamp. Hopefully that makes it easier for you guys to navigate through which palette speaks to you, which palette you're gonna buy. So these are $15 each, or they're $49 for the entire vault. Now I bought the entire vault, but I do think they were only going to do one more launch to buy it like this as a set for the $49. And then once those sell out like this, you're going to have to buy them individually. So let's jump right into this video, and then don't forget to come right back here tomorrow to see the other 2 palettes and the looks that I create with those, and to give you guys my final thoughts. Now, before I continue, I want to make it perfectly clear. I bought this with my own money. I don't do YouTube to get PR or anything like that. I bought these with my own money. My review is mine and mine alone. And I don't care about reviewing products based on receiving PR in the future. That's not who I am. I do this because I want to be very, very honest with my review and honest with you guys. Everything that I say in my videos is based on my experience. Now, I know that seems like there's some discrepancies within the palettes. Like some people are receiving junky palettes and some people are receiving good palettes. I want to let you guys know up front that if I like a palette and a palette works for me, that doesn't mean that every palette out there is going to work. I know there's a lot of drama going on with a lot of conspiracies on this entire launch. Some people are saying that, Morphe just went ahead and put out some of the older palettes. Or if you bought it from Ulta, you're getting an old palette. If you buy it from Morphe, you're getting a new palette. Who's to say? Honestly, I would hope that Morphe wouldn't be that way. I would hope that we can trust a brand. I felt bad that they had to throw them away, but if they say they're going to throw them away and start new, then you hope that that's the case. This review is based on my experience with the palette that was sent to me from Morphe, and I am going to be 100% truthful and honest in everything that I review on a daily basis. So let's jump right into the first part of the video, which is me creating this beautiful look using the Ring the Alarm palette. So I will see you guys then. This is how they come packaged inside the box. This is what the vault looks like, all 4 packets. So the first look I'm gonna do is with the Ring Alarm palette. So this is what all of the shades look like. Very pretty. And I will be honest, this is the palette that probably speaks to me the most. The only makeup that I have on right now is did my eyebrows, and I have concealer on them, and I set it down. So they are ready for shadow. The first shade in the palette I'm going to go into is the shade right here called Rush. I'm going to take my Morphe E28 brush. Now, I don't know what look I'm going to go with. I'm just going to kind of go with what, kind of speaks to me. You know how that is. I kind of have an idea, but sometimes that changes as you go along. So far, that shadow blended out really nice. I don't feel like it's being patchy in any areas. Now, the reason why I wanted to go ahead and do this makeup free, I didn't want to do my base and then just have a ton of fallout. So I am going to go ahead and do my base later. I did kind of buff out the edges with my Morphe E504. It's just kind of a fluffy brush on the end. So now I'm going to go into the shade MUGSHOT, which is right here in the middle on the bottom row. And I did tap my brush in there and then I tapped it off just to eliminate some fallout. Okay, now that shade is extremely pigmented, as you can see. Now this shade, I'm just kind of concentrating it on the crease, just kind of building it up a little bit. Now I'm going in with my Morphe 504 and kind of blending out those edges, and I just kind of do that flicking motion Now I'm going to go down with a smaller brush. I'm going to take my Morphe 506 brush. I want to go into the shade Siren, which is right here. Tapping it off, and now I'm going to concentrate this right here on this inner part of the crease. As you can see, I'm not having any problems with that shade. It's blending out nice. I'm not seeing any skipping marks. I'm not seeing any patchiness. I mean, it blended out nice. And so far, I don't have any fallout. Okay, next I'm gonna take my Sigma eye shading brush. This is the E55, and I'm gonna go into that shade Siren. So I went in like this, one on this side and one on this side, just to kind of make sure that the brush has product on each side. I'm gonna tap off the extra, and then I'm going to go in and just start shading this in right here and kind of pack this in. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with that shade Siren, and I am going to go in this inner corner. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to tip my head to the side. So this is my left eye. So I'm going to tip my head to the left, and I'm going to take the corner of this brush, and I'm going to pack this on the inner corner because I'm going to create somewhat of a halo eye. So far, you guys, I'm liking this so far. Okay, now I want to go into the shade Bombass, which is right here. It's the first one on the bottom row. And I'm going to do the exact same thing with this brush with the E55. Okay, so I have it on both sides. I'm going to tap it off. And then I'm going to go over top of that purple and kind of build that. And I'm still not getting any fallout. As you can see, like I'm going in kind of heavy. I am tapping off the brush, but I'm not getting any fallout. So far I'm kind of impressed with the way that these are applying. And now I'm kind of bringing it in right here towards the middle of the crease and kind of connecting, you know, those two together, and then going over top of the crease lightly. So now I'm going to cut my crease just right here in the middle. I'm gonna just take some KKW Beauty Concealer. I don't want this cut crease to be a perfect cut crease. I basically am just trying to clean this up so that when I go in with a shimmer shade, it really pops. I'm gonna take my Morphe M506, I'm gonna go into the shade Rush, and I'm also gonna go into the shade Mugshot. I'm going to dip back and forth between those two. I've tapped off the brush, and now I'm going to bring this right here just to kind of bring that back to life, because sometimes when you put those darker shades over top of the crease shade, you'll lose it. You'll lose the intensity, but I kind of want that just to be that outer ring of the look. Now, I really want to go into the shade Lolli for two reasons. One, I know that her dog is named Lolli, and I have a Shih Tzu of my own, and she's the cutest dog ever. And I have a special place in my heart for Shih Tzus because this is my second Shih Tzu, and I love their personalities. And I know that her dog is named Lolli, so I do want to use the shade Lolli right here in the palette. But personally, these two are my favorite shades in this palette. So that is the second reason why I want to use that shade. I'm going to take actually a felt tip applicator. This is one that I have from Too Faced. I like applying stuff with a felt tip applicator. I know it's kind of old school, but it works for me. And you gotta do what works for you. So I've got some on the brush. I'm going to tap it off just so I don't have any fallout. And I'm going to go in, and I'm going in dry first to see what pigment I can get. And I didn't really get a lot of pigment, so let's go in with my finger. Okay, the finger is a little better, as you can see. So now I'm going to try to do it wet so that I can see if I can build up a little bit more pigment. So I'm going to go into that shade Lolli. I'm going to pull it up. I've got it right here on my felt tip applicator. I'm going to spray it. I don't use MAC Fix Plus because it's expensive. I just use the setting spray from e.l.f. and it works amazing. FYI. Okay, so that actually works the best. With this shade, I recommend going in with it wet. The finger's okay, but going in wet is probably going to be the best bet. I'm gonna grab my Sigma pencil brush. This is the E30, and I'm gonna go in between Rush and Mugshot and kind of build this up, and I'm gonna bring those around those edges. Okay, so now I'm going to go into the shade Bombass, and I'm just going to kind of pack this and just kind of blend it. I'm not getting any fallout. I'm kind of surprised by that. That kind of gives me the Jaclyn Hill palette vibes. I don't get fallout from that palette, and it is one of my favorite palettes for a reason. So I'm gonna go ahead, go off camera, finish the rest of my makeup, and then I will come back and I will do the lower lash line, and we will throw some lashes on, and I will give you guys my final thoughts on this palette. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I went ahead and threw on the rest of my makeup. I did also take this shade right here on camera. It's this really pretty gold shade right in the middle. I did take my finger like this, just lightly, like a little bit, and I just went in and just kind of popped it on top because I felt like this alone just wasn't giving me enough of a pop for that halo eye, but I do think that that little bit of gold kind of helped to bring it to life. So let's work on the lower lash line really fast so we can tie the look up. I'm gonna take my Sigma E30, which is a pencil brush. I'm gonna go into Rush, and then I'm gonna go into Mugshot. I'm gonna basically copy what I did up top. Typically, if I was just gonna create a look, I would have just left it here. But I do want to use as many shades as I can, so I am gonna add just a little bit more up top. So I'm kind of blowing this out just a tiny bit, but let me just say that Rush shade is very pigmented. So now I'm gonna go into Mugshot. So now I'm just kind of deepening that up just to kind of match what we have up top. So I'm gonna take my flat definer brush from Sigma. This is the E15, and I'm gonna go into the shade Secret. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my brush and getting both sides pretty coated with product. I'm gonna tap it, and then I'm gonna take that shade and just kind of stamp it up here and just kind of build right close to the lash line, and it will just really give it a little bit of definition. And I'm gonna do that same thing on the lower lash line, and I'm just kind of shading it. I want you guys to see just how easy this was for me to create a look. Didn't take me that long. I'm kind of impressed with it so far. Now let's go ahead and do the inner corner. I'm gonna take this brush from Morphe. It doesn't have a number on it. It came in like a kit. And I'm going to go into the shade On Camera. Now, typically I wouldn't use this gold shade for an inner corner highlight, but I want to use just this palette for this look. So I'm going to go into that gold shade right there. I'm going to put it on my brush and I'm going to spray it. So let's go into my final thoughts on this palette before we move into the next palette. Personally, you guys, I like this palette. I did not have any issues with it blending out. I think the shades worked beautifully. This was my favorite palette out of the entire collection because I do prefer more of those warmer tones. I would say that this palette, for me personally, my palette, is similar to the old Jaclyn Hill palette. The way that it blended, the way that the shadows blended together, and you know, I didn't have any skipping, I didn't have any muddiness, I didn't have any patchiness. I mean, I was able to create a very beautiful look, and it didn't take a lot of effort. Sometimes you really need to work to build the pigment, but as you've seen in the tutorial, it was easy to build. It was not hard. It didn't take a lot of effort, and I didn't get a lot of fallout, which was the reason why I didn't do my makeup before. So typically I do my face makeup first and then I go in with my eyes, but I'd heard so many people say that this thing was completely falling down and it was making a mess, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't want that, so I'll go ahead and do my eyes first, but I really truthfully didn't need to based on my palette. I think this is a great palette. So that is my final thoughts on this palette. Let's go ahead and move straight into the next part of the video, which is me applying the Armed and Gorgeous palette. I'm really excited to create a look with this, you guys. It's so beautiful. So I'll be right back. Okay, let's jump into the tutorial for look number 2. This is the beautiful palette that we are working with. I have went ahead and primed my eyes. I've got my eyebrows done. I'm gonna go straight in with this beautiful like mustardy yellow color. It's called Access. I do really like that mustardy yellow shade. I want to first point out these two shades right here, Secure and Agent, they're so similar, as you can see. This is Secure and this is Agent. This one is just a little bit more brown, and this is more of a brighter orange. So I'm gonna go into Agent, I think. This one right here. I'm taking my Morphe E28 brush and I'm tapping down into that shade. And then I'm gonna do this just to make sure that I don't cause any fallout. Now, I don't have any other makeup on because I didn't know if this was going to be a palette that I would experience fallout with. So far, that shade blended out beautifully. I mean, look how pretty that shade is. over top of that mustardy yellow. It's very easy to blend and it's working really nice. I'm gonna pick up my Morphe M506. It's kind of more of a smaller, wispier type brush. And I'm gonna go into the shade Smooth Criminal, which is this one right here. This palette is giving me major fall vibes. Don't get me wrong, I love summer, but man, it's giving me major fall vibes. Okay, again, that shade is blending out beautifully. What I like to do in between each shade is I like to take my Morphe M504, it's a bigger, fluffier brush, and I like to go over the edges. I do that after every shade. It's just kind of a habit of mine. It's my technique, you know, we all have different techniques, but I like to do that just to kind of blend all of the shadows together. I'm going back in one more time with Smooth Criminal, and I'm tapping off the extra and just kind of building up this bridge right here on the brow bone. Right there, dead center in the middle of the crease. I'm not having any issues with this one either. So far, so good. I want to go back to my E28 brush, and I'm going to go into the shade Secure, which is right there in the middle. It's kind of like that pumpkin-y, orangey shade, and I am going to pop this just over top, right here on that middle of the crease. I'm going to take this brush from Sigma. This is the E55, it's an eye shading brush. It looks like this. I'm gonna go into the shade Agent, and then I'm gonna go down into the shade Smooth Criminal. What I like to do with this brush, like I did in the last tutorial, I like to take it and dip down and kind of coat both sides of the brush with that shade, and then top off the extra, and then go in and start building. Now I'm going to take that same brush, I'm going to do the same exact technique. I'm going to go into Smooth Criminal, and I'm just going to start shading this over top of that shade. Now, some would say, why didn't you just go straight in with Smooth Criminal? Why did you go and put Agent on? Well, the reason why I went in with Agent first is because normally when you apply a transition shade, it gives you a little bit of dimension. That's what I was looking for on the outer portion of the eyelid, is just some real nice dimension. Now this is a fantastic brush to do this with. And the thing that I've noticed since I've been using this one is that I don't get the fallout. Like when you start packing on and you're building up an outer corner, sometimes you can get fallout. This brush doesn't give me much fallout, and I'm liking these. Sigma sent all these brushes to me in a package, and they gave me my own code. I will put it down here at the bottom. No pressure to use it. That's completely up to you. I don't like all their brushes that they sent, but that one is definitely a brush that I really, really like. I kind of want to go into the shade Guilt Trip. Guilt Trip is this one right here, and it's like a really pretty, like real pretty gold. I initially wanted to use the shade Classified, which is this one right here. It's not very pigmented. Now let's go into Coin. Coin is very bright, and I don't know if I want to be very bright. So I think that's what's maybe nice about this palette. You have a shade over here that's not as pigmented. Then you have this shade, which is Guilt Trip, and you get a medium size impact. And then you have Coin, which is just, I mean, it is explosive. I'm gonna go ahead and grab my felt tip applicator. I'm gonna put this one on dry first, just to see what we get from it. Let's go ahead and place this right here in the middle. I'm gonna go ahead and put it on the applicator, and then I'm gonna wet it down. See? I mean, wetting them down is definitely the key. I mean, you can see the impact that that gave. What I like about a felt tip applicator versus a finger is I can get a more precise placement of where I want that shimmer shadow. Okay, let's go ahead and pack some pigment back here. I want to go into that shade Prowl, which is this dark one right here. I'm gonna take the shader brush that I've been using, the eye shading, the E55, and I'm gonna do the exact same thing. I've got it on both sides of the brush, and then I tap it off, and then I just kind of start shading this in. This is the Sigma E30. This is another brush that I've been really enjoying from the Sigma brush line, and I am going to take that shade Prowl, and I'm just going to kind of carve this out just a tiny bit. It's nice to do that with a pencil brush because it gives you more control where you're putting the shadow. When I added the shade Prowl, I did get a little bit of fallout, but nothing too major. I'm going to go into the shade Agent, which is this one right here. And I kind of want to just blend those all together. I'm going to take this brush from Morphe. It doesn't have a number on it. It just came in like a set. And I'm going to go into the shade VIP, which is this one right there. I'm going to go in dry so you guys can see what the pigment looks like dry before we go in with it wet. Typically, I like to wet down my inner corner highlight. Ooh, holy moly, you guys. Oh, she is pretty. But I do want to wet that down. It's hard for me to put on my inner corner highlight without wetting it down. Just makes it look a little bit more airbrushed. But dang, that's pretty, you guys. I really, really like that. So I'm going to go ahead, go off camera, finish my makeup, and I'll come back and we will do the lower lash line. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. I went ahead and threw on it the rest of my makeup. Let's go ahead and finish the lower lash line. But before I do that, I'm going to go into that shade VIP right there at the top. And I'm going to pop some of that right here on my brow bone. I'm going to take my Sigma E30 and I'm going to go into the first shade Access. I'm just going to kind of pop this up under here. So then I'm going to go into the shade Agent, pop that over top. I'm basically building exactly the way I built it up top. Now I'm going to take my Sigma Flat Definer. This is the E15. And I am going to go into the Smooth Criminal right there. And I'm just going to start shading this right here. I do like the dimension of the browns, so I don't want to cover up what we just did with those other shades, but I just want to get that lash line right there. This is the final look. Let me go through my final thoughts about this palette. The shades blended out beautifully on the eye. I don't feel like I got a ton of fallout. This palette worked out perfectly. Now, I did want to use this green, and I kind of regret not using it, because that green is so beautiful. Like, I'll be honest with you, the green is probably my favorite shade in the palette. I would say this Top Secret, this green right here, and Guilt Trip are probably my two favorite shades in this palette. So I kind of regret not using it, but I did want to kind of use all of the shades that I could. And I pretty much used all of the shades but 3 of them. But these shadows blended out very pretty. And let me just say, these are $15. Milani palettes are $20, and I don't get near this pigment, the payoff, the way that they blend. So these to me are worth the $15. Totally 100%. Now in tomorrow's video, I will be uploading the other 2 palettes. We'll see how those 2 palettes perform, the remaining 2 in the vault. But so far, the Armed and Gorgeous and Ring the Alarm has turned out beautiful. I know that there's a lot of hype and there's a lot of mixed reviews out there. And I get that. I do. I understand that. I'm sorry if you guys are one of those out there that received a palette and you don't have that quality. I'm very sorry, and I would definitely 100% get my money back. But for me, based on the 2 palettes that I used, based on my opinion, my technique, the way I apply eyeshadow, and what I need and look for in a shadow, these 2 worked out perfectly for me. And they felt like the Jaclyn Hill quality. So I'm sorry if you guys are out there and you guys got a bad batch. I'm very sorry about that. Tomorrow, I'm going to go ahead and upload my video using the Dark Magic and Bling Boss. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you guys can be notified. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I hope you guys have a fantastic day filled with love, happiness, and joy. I love you guys so much. Bye!